people identify their ethnicity even with food. How long can our milk, or let's say our tomatoes, our fresh tomatoes, stay on on in our baskets if you don't process them into tin tomatoes, into maybe sliced tomatoes and all of that.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you watching from all face of the earth. I am Kokwe, your food scientist, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Food. If you haven't watched our previous episode, please do well to watch it, subscribe, like, comment, and click the share button. We've been waiting for ages for this guest, and finally she is here with us. If you remember in episode 1, Ryan mentioned that he enjoyed the food prepared by a colleague, Gertrude. We have her in our midst, and I'll allow her to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gertrude, and yes, he was right about the jollof. It tasted very good. So I'm a food scientist, a food lover, and I'm here to share what I know about food, and I can't wait for this episode.
Good news. Come on, today I have another food scientist in the house. So probably we might discuss the science. Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe.
Yes. So I'm sure you've been following us. I've seen your comments and all that. Like it's quite encouraging. Thank you. Yeah. So personally, to you, how do you see food outside the world of science and probably in the world of science also?
Okay, but since the discussion is about food, why is there no food here? Anyways, let's go on. All right, so food. I like the word food in particular. It brings me joy and excitement. But aside the joy, I think food for me personally, I would say it's the fuel for my body. Yes, basically. Food energizes me. Food, propels me to get going, because in the morning when I wake up, I need some energy for my day. I know that for my little science background, all the nutrients I need, all the energy I need would be stored in the food that I particularly choose to eat. So in basic terms, I think food is just the fuel that I need for my body to just keep going.
When you wake up in the morning, do you usually take breakfast?
Yes, I do.
You do? You don't skip breakfast like me.
Sometimes when they need be, but
is it good to skip breakfast?
Scientifically, I don't think so, because before we start our day, we need to get something our body running, and where we get that is from the food that we eat. So the carbohydrates, the protein that we need to take us through the first part of our day, we'll get it from the food. People decide to take water, but I don't think water can give you all that you need as much as food can do. So yes.
I was about asking if breakfast we should go it heavy or light.
No, it's about your choice. But I know you take it very heavy.
Well, I do skip
I
breakfast.
prefer to keep it simple, very demure.
Mindful.
Not too much.
Yes, people see food is also culture too. What's your take on that?
Yes, that's one big thing. Yeah, I totally agree that food is culture, because most of the times when for instance, I'm Ghanaian, so I'll talk from my cultural background. Even in Ghana, people identify their ethnicity even with food. So you go to different parts of Ghana, and there's one thing that actually represents the people is their food. So even without mentioning where they are from, their food alone can tell you which group of people these are. So it's the same also internationally. Every country has, I think, their local or traditional food that is very common to them. So even without mentioning your country, for instance, if I mention pizza, we all know it's from it's from Italy. Okay, it's commonly eaten by the people in Italy. Pasta and all of that. So food is, I think, one big thing about culture, and I think it's very unique in its own way, and yeah, I love it.
Food is unique in its own way, and it's also part of culture.
Yeah.
Most importantly, yes, food is an identity. Exactly. So there are instances where you eat a specific food or when you see certain food, like it triggers certain memories? Like, I don't know if there's anything in like that for you.
Yes. I think for
Cake.
me, well, cake. But that's a topic for another day. But I'll say a food that triggers memory for me is this kind of a particular kind of porridge. It's called koki. I think the people it's eaten by a specific group of people in Ghana. That's the
Yeah.
people in Ghana. So for Cotley, one thing, the reason why it always triggers a memory is because I used to, my grandma, whenever we visited her in our hometown, every single morning, like I mean Monday to Monday, that's what we take. And there's this little lumps in the porridge. And initially I didn't used to like it, but as time went on, we became so used to it. So I loved it. It was always prepared with love and we always ate it in joy with my other cousins. So anytime I see that porridge, my mind goes straight to my hometown, my grandmom, and the whole village scene and the environment and everything. It's amazing.
Now, when you mentioned that, like it triggered a memory.
Yeah.
When I got lost when I went to the village to visit my grandma. Yeah, I got lost.
That's particular, but that's very typical of you, though, to get lost because you're very someone.
And these are some of the memories that you can talk of when you mention food and all that.
Yeah.
Now there had been an increase in the processed foods, all those kind of things, and then the indigenous Ghanaian, let's say indigenous foods in general, not to be biased.
Yeah.
So indigenous foods in general. So what is your take on processed foods, indigenous foods, and all that? Like looking at how the world is advancing and all.
Okay, so this topic is a very interesting one, especially with the growing innovation in the food industry today. Processed food is something that we cannot do without. But for my take, I think it's for the lack of better words, it's a necessary evil, if I would say. Yeah, because looking at the increasing population, across the globe and everything, when we don't make good use of our local produce, process them, to extend the shelf life, to be able to feed the growing population, I think that we are not making good use of the produce. So, in as much as there are other, pros and cons and all of that, looking at the additives, the preservatives, the conditions in which the processed food pass through before it comes on the shelf and all of that, people have different mindsets. But in the long run, I think it's doing good, helping us to preserve our produce for long and also cater for the growing population. So I think if it's done in the right conditions, using the right additives, the right chemicals, and if there is proper education, to people who don't understand what goes into processed food or the need for processing food, I think when we do that, it would help people to accept.
But do you think that the world still lacks understanding on processed foods?
Yes, I think to a large extent, I think people still have a very bad notion about processed food. Like they feel like once it's in a can, it is not good, the chemicals. But hey, we all need it. We all need it because how long can our milk or let's say our tomatoes, our fresh tomatoes, stay on in our baskets if you don't process them into tin tomatoes, into maybe sliced tomatoes and all of that? We cannot keep it for long. So I think that there's a lot more education that has been done, but we can still do more. We can still do more for the education to be widely understood by people.
Right. And I think this platform would also serve as one of the means where, people can also get to know more of processed foods, that it is not harmful. It's processed means it's not harmful, right? Once it is done in the right way.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know if you would like to give us any final words for our audience watching us tonight or watching us from wherever they are today.
Okay, so my final words will be that as a food scientist, I'll say that food is, it's our everyday everyday thing. One professor of mine back in my university mentioned that you see, when you are moving about in your town or in your city, you can count the number of restaurants, but how many hospitals can you count?
Right.
Few hospitals or pharmacies, but you can count a lot of food joints, supermarkets. That means food is something that we cannot do without. So I would encourage everyone to be very particular about whatever they take inside their body, because far beyond the pleasure, the satisfaction, food goes a long way to do a lot of things in your body. So if you put in the right food, it does the good things. If you put in the bad food, after you are satisfied, now your body has to pay for it. So, and I bet you don't want to put your body through that pain. So please be particular about your food. More vegetables, more fruits, and be very intentional, because in the long run, you are going to benefit from that too. Thank you very much.
Be very intentional, because in the long run, you are going to benefit from it. I'm Kokwe, your famous food scientist, and see you in
The next episode.
Bye.
Bye.